Hello and welcome, you beautiful bookish people. February is no more, so that means it is reading wrap-up time. I read 7 books in the month of February, which is about average for me. I read like 7 or 8, depending on the length of them, which we'll get into in a second. If you've got a little drinky drink, go get it, come back and sit down, and we're just gonna chat. First of all, I was cracking up. When I pulled up to the window at Dutch Bros this morning, they were like, Are you the book girl? And I said, yeah. And so we got started talking about our books, and she was like, okay, tell me about the last book you read. I said, you're my best friend. You're my best friend. This is literally non-negotiable. You asked me about my book. You're my best friend. And then another girl came up to them and she's like, I thought that was you. Hey, how's it going? I said, I come to this coffee shop too much if you know me by my freaking voice. Here we go, okay. The first book that I read this month was Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Mass. I picked this up because I needed like my version of a palate cleanser, okay? I don't go out of my genre to have a palate cleanser. I just either try to do standalones or, which this is not a standalone, I think there's gonna be multiple books. But I heard good things about it. It's a debut. It wasn't super intense fantasy. It was Greek mythology. I was like, okay, let's get into this. No. I gave this book 2.5 stars. I'm so conflicted about it because like, I guess it was a fun time, but I'm just not cut out for like the super sarcastic modern language sort of writing, I guess. And I took a chance on this book, which I mean, at this point, I'm just taking a chance on every book, but I mean, I tabbed and highlighted because that's what I do for every book, I guess, but I just wasn't super into it. I think the story was pretty stereotypical, and if I had a chance to pick this up again, I wouldn't. Not a very great start to the month. Basically, this follows a girl named Alexis who's living in this like post-apocalyptic kind of world. She is starving, struggling to survive. She's a foster kid and has a foster brother. It is very intense and graphic with some of the scenes that are in it, so please check the trigger warnings because I didn't know that stuff was in there, but it's very tough to read. So literally within like the first 20 pages, I was like, hold on, I'm gonna need to take a break because that was intense. But basically there is this academic test that she can take that will automatically secure a spot in a university for her, which would provide her with money, housing, stuff to take care of her and her brother. So that's the goal in taking the test, but she actually is found out that she has the blood of a Spartan, which means she's not technically fully human, and that she has the possibility to go compete in this tournament, sort of like raising up Spartan kind of thing, and secure her place in that world, I guess. And she's very abruptly like taken like, oh, you have no choice but to do this. And it is a very grueling training camp. There are 4 male main characters, if that tells you anything. On to the next. Book number 2 is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. I had heard about this book all over social media, that it was super cool. It was like a gothic fantasy, but like kind of chill, but like also there's some world building and an interesting magic system. Yes, I think this lived up to the hype. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think the only thing that kept me from rating it 5 stars was just I wasn't like super connected to the characters, but also it's not a very normal thing for me to rate a first book in a series 5 stars, but it was definitely a break. This was more of a palate cleanser than Blood of Hercules, let me tell you that much. But if you're looking just for like a chill read, this is definitely it. The writing was phenomenal. It was super poetic, which I think is so interesting. I loved the fact that you kind of get like history of that world and the mystery of it like woven into the story. It is multiple POV eventually. One Dark Window is about a girl named Elspeth who has a being living in her head called the Nightmares. It's basically like sort of like a spirit, I guess, and he's super sassy, funny, but like really cryptic and kind of creepy, but nobody knows that she has him in her head. And the magic in this land comes from something called the Providence cards, which are their 12 different types of Providence cards that give its user a certain power. In this world, there's this mist of foresty, it's hold on. It's a forest shrouded in mist, and if you go into this forest, you basically go crazy, and it's like a blight on the land, right? And so they're trying to figure out a way to get rid of it because obviously it's disrupting life, and the way to do that is to bring all 12 cards together. And so basically she has to figure out where these cards are, how to use them, but also there's, you know, some romance in there too, which is really nice. And it also will free the people from a sickness that you can get from this mist. It's magic. It's really good. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. I would recommend it. It's a duology, so naturally the next book is the third read of February. It is Two Twisted Crowns. This one I gave 5 stars. I overall gave the duology 5 stars because this book just like leveled up in the best way possible. It is multiple POV, which you'll understand why it's more expansive than the first book once you understand how the first book ends. But I loved the points of view in this book. I do have a reading vlog, spoiler and non-spoiler, if you want to go check those out, for me reading this duology. But I was obsessed. I think this is a perfect ending to I mean, I guess you could say ending. There's only 2 books, so it's not like super expansive. And one thing that I would say about Rachel Gillig, she's so purposeful, and like everything has its reason instead of just like throwing stuff in there that she wants in there. Like everything makes sense. Chapter 38, if you know, you know. This book left me teary-eyed, smiling in the best way possible, and it was good closure. I think I have started so many unfinished series that it's really hard to find something that I'm like, okay, I feel good about that, like I can actually move on, which obviously, like for something like Throne of Glass, I think that there were so many storylines that were left open that it's like I don't have closure even though it's a finished series, but I love that because then there's so many possibilities in the future. But with this, it's like I needed something that I was gonna feel good about, and like no, let me take that back. Something that I felt good moving on from. But that doesn't mean it was a bad book. Like I like holding on to, do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying? 5 stars. Book numero 4. I'm gonna have a hard time talking about this one because I loved it so much. Why did I not pick this up sooner? I don't know. I've kind of heard about this. This is Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. And I know I literally just said that is not normal for me to rate a first book in a series 5 stars, but this was 5 stars. 5 freaking stars. This was so good. This story is about Tisana Vidasic, who is a slave in a land called Threll, and she has magical powers, and she is working to buy her freedom from her master, and she does succeed, which that's not a spoiler, that's in like first, I don't know, like 20 pages of the book. And she wants to go to this other continent called Ara, which has a magical government of sorts that trains people with these magical powers, and she wants to go there, train her magic so she can return to Threll and rescue, I guess, all of the slaves that were in Threll and like, you know, take down the tyrants and whatever. But this book is her trying to navigate her magic. It has trainer-trainee trope, which yes, the romance is so freaking good. This story, it takes its time, but intentionally. I think with One Dark Window and this too, intentionality is so important to me, and that's something that I do look for in a book. And the bits of character development are so necessary. And you get to see like the exact moment where things kind of like clicked in the main character's brains, which I think is, for me, that's really helpful because sometimes like I can try to infer certain things, but there are some things you're like, you just have to know exactly when for it to make sense in the future, like exactly when things started changing. We get to see Tisana kind of grow into the woman that she wants to be and kind of realize, okay, this is my mission, this is what I'm gonna do, and no one's gonna stop me, which is powerful FMC moment. All I have to say for this one, Aelin and Tisana would be best friends. Do I need to say more? And obviously, since I love the first book so much, Children of Fallen Gods is number 2, also by Chris Broadbent. Again, 5 stars. I forgot to mention that the first book is dual POV, and then in this book it is multiple POV. I ate this book up. I posted a video about saying like how much I love this, and some of the people were like, oh, I couldn't get through the second book, it was so slow. And I'm like, did we read the same thing? Because there was so many storylines happening in this, and it was weaved to get woven. Whoa, wait, hold on. Woven together? Yeah, I can't speak. Woven together perfectly. The ending of this one, buckle up. I was not okay, so just be prepared for that. But you get to dive into the complexities of war so in depth, which I think is very interesting and needs to be talked about. Complicated, layered characters. When I mean complicated, I mean like complicated. Plot twists, yeah. And the stakes get so high. This is where it's like, so we thought it was actually this problem, but no, it's really this one, and that is so much more intense than we originally thought, which really sucks. We gotta figure out how to get rid of it. Children of Fallen Gods, 5 stars! You already know it's coming. Mother of Death and Dawn, also by Carissa Broadbent, the 3rd book in the War of Lost Hearts trilogy. 5 stars. Like, indisputable 5 stars. I thought this was the perfect ending to a perfect trilogy. Throughout this whole book was just completely hooked. I normally read like maybe 100 pages a day, and I almost read like 300 of this to finish it because I was just like, I have to know what happens. And things are like rolling so fast right now that I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna go on? I felt incredibly connected to these characters, their mission, what they stand for, just them. And I think that is so special when you just love the characters. And no, they're not perfect, and some of them are morally gray, and some of them you're like, ooh, you're making the wrong decision. But there's something about those characters that make them so special and so like realistic and relatable. But you kind of get all this extra little information of what's going on both sides, which I'm not going to tell you more than that because I don't want to spoil anything for you. But it's like, are you kidding me? This also gives you complete closure. And when I say complete closure, the epilogue is very long, and it basically tells you what the characters are up to after things end, where they are, who they're with, what they're doing. Like, it gives you everything, and I think that is just perfect. And I think more fantasy series need to do that to tell, like, to, you know, tie those knots and just be like, okay, you can rest now. But this book made me cry, it made me laugh, it made me like hold my breath. This was everything I want in a fantasy book, and that's really all I have to say. I think this is gonna be definitely one of my top reads for 2025. Now, I know we started off a little bit rough, and then in the middle, things got so much better. And then we ended on a terrible note. The last book I read this month was Lady Macbeth by Ava Reed. I got this in my Owl Crate subscription, and I actually chose this book in my March TBR jar video, but I had like 2 or 3 days left in the month, and I needed something that I could finish super quickly, and this is 295 pages. So I was like, oh, you know what? It's supposed to be for next month, but I'll read it this month, whatever. I, on Goodreads, gave this 1 star because I couldn't go lower. If that tells you anything. I have no idea what I read. I think the writing threw me off so much, and I got this book in a subscription box, so it's not like I necessarily picked it, but I read the like premise of the book, which is basically, obviously Macbeth is a Shakespearean play, and this story goes behind the scenes of Macbeth's wife and gives her a story, gives her a feminist moment. There's a dragon on the cover on the inside, and I was like, okay, dragons, magic, like all this stuff, feminism, like yay, we're gonna do this. And I don't think I comprehended a single word. That's really disappointing. And I hate, okay, I'm talking about this like I'm beating it into the ground, but I actually hate doing this because I know like this is somebody's hard work and imagination, and like you took all of this time to create a story, and I can see why some people would love it. I'm just not cut out for anything remotely close to any sort of classic whatever. I think this was a total miss for me, and I'm kind of not happy that I read it. Well, I mean, I'm happy that I read it because, you know, I would have never known it. It was just sitting on my shelf, but I just, no thanks. I did start an 8th book like a couple days ago, which is Amid Clouds and Bones, which is a romantasy standalone, but I haven't finished that yet. It is 400 pages. I thought I was gonna finish it, but my brain has not been braining the last couple days. But I will still mention that one. I'm gonna actually do like a full review next month because obviously it's March 1st right now, the time that I'm filming this, and I'm only gonna wrap up books that I finished in the month, but I'm enjoying it so far, and I can't wait to review it because it's like just a good time, like kicking my feet, giggling kind of book. That is going to be all of the books, my beautiful friends. I am so happy that I'm doing YouTube now because I really enjoy making these videos. So if you made it all the way to the end, ooh, what emoji should I have you do? Do the dragon emoji. Yeah. If you made it all the way to the end, do dragon emojis in the comments. If there's anything you want to see me read or put on my TBR, let me know also. That's it. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.